Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Adam Lang, and with Sean Aylmer and Stephen Koukoulas both taking a well-earned break, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Sherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY. Sherelle, good morning.
Good morning, Adam.
We had a very busy week last week, didn't we?
We certainly did. Lots of data out there and very interesting consumer price index number for July. That's just the monthly one. And we also got a couple of the what we call partial indicators, which feed into the GDP number. Certainly kept us busy during the week. I'm not sure that it changed our view too much, but there was certainly some devil in the detail there, I think.
Yeah, so Sherelle, we saw that CPI number come from 3.8% in the year to June down in those monthly numbers to 3.5% in the 12 months to July. But as you say, what impact do you think that has? Does it affect any decisions?
Well, it looks good on the surface, right? And certainly from the point of view of impacting inflationary expectations, it's good for consumers and businesses to see that CPI number come down. But unfortunately, it's not genuine disinflation. It's largely due to that big fall in electricity prices in the month of July as the latest round of federal and state rebates started to kick in. Now, electricity prices fell 6.4% in the month of July as a result of that. So you can see that that's had a very kind of big downward weight. If we looked at some of the other categories in the CPI, they were really awful. Fruit prices, for example, they're up 9.4% in the year. Cakes and biscuits, 7.1%. That's probably good for our diets, though, right? So you can avoid those. Takeaway food still up 4.3%. And of course, the big one, which is really hurting those who are renting, those rents are up 6.9% across the country as a whole. So still some really ugly numbers in there.
Yeah, and look, later in the week we saw House of Representatives Economics Committee appearances by the bank heads, all of whom seemed to note that cost of living pressure coming through on their customers.
Absolutely. And, we can see, I think, a bit of a dichotomy here because we've got those at the kind of early end of their working lives who've, got big supermarket trolleys full of nappies and cakes and biscuits and fruit, childcare fees, perhaps some kids in school, mortgages. These are the households, these working households are the ones that are really feeling it. At the other end of the scale, those who are, lucky enough to have rode the property boom, probably a bit older, maybe close to retirement or indeed self-funded retirees, the world looks different for them. They're not having these big expenses related to raising a family. They don't have the mortgage repayments. So for them, cost of living is not nearly so difficult. And we can actually even see that the ABS has some great cost of living indexes where we can see this in black and white now. And for those working households, the cost of living is running kind of closer to 7% rather than the CPI, which is telling us it's 3.5%.
Oh, that is so interesting. And look, that really wraps up the biggest points of last week's data, Sherelle. Next week, we've got another big week of data. Almost every day has something, but probably chiefly is the GDP number, right?
Yes, that's right. That's definitely where our focus will be, albeit backward looking, of course, because it is June quarter, and that seems like quite a long time ago now. Look, this number is not going to be good. It's going to be very weak. We can see that from the partial indicators that we have so far, the construction work data, also the capital expenditure data. They're pretty flat. We're also, of course, not expecting consumption to be strong for the reasons that we've just been talking about. So those parts of the economy, which are a huge chunk of the economy, of course, they're really going to weigh on the GDP number. On the more positive side, we might see some more positive numbers in public sector construction in particular. That's obviously something that's moving along very quickly. We'll get some more indications on what's happening with government spending just before we get the GDP number, which will help us get, a read on what's going to happen on Wednesday. But look, overall, it looks like that GDP number could be, 0.8, 0.9 for the whole year. So that's clearly very low.
That is so slow. I mean, we talk about a soft landing and it's good to see the inflation number coming down, but the economy is slowing too. Do you think it's at a concerning level?
Well, I suspect that this is going to be the low point, actually. And we don't know that for sure, but it is likely that as we move into the second half of the year, because we've got the tax cuts, because we've got cost of living measures, real wages are rising again. Even the business capital expenditure numbers looked actually pretty okay when we saw those last week. It does actually suggest that we will see a little bit more momentum into the second half and into 2025. So we're in some ways we're still seeing the worst of the interest rate hikes from the last 2.5 years hit the economy, and potentially from here on the economy picks up a bit. What we hope, of course, is that pickup doesn't come with inflation, which is too high for the RBA. But, in terms of where they're thinking things are at, the inflation pressure is still continuing to come down and the economy will level out.
So we're still hoping for that soft landing. And this is a really interesting context in which we know there's a couple of speeches by Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock this week. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, so some really big ones next week. So annually she does an event with the Annika Foundation, a really important charity there, and it's also supported by the Australian Business Economist, which I'm very proud to say I am deputy chair of, and that's going to be probably quite a wide-ranging speech. We'll see what the topic is. It's probably going to be peppered with whatever the topic is. She will be peppered with questions, of course, about
yes.
the outlook and
guaranteed.
How firm she is on that comment that she made after the August meeting, which she said that she doesn't see a rate cut this year. And then on the same day, quite rare actually for the governor to appear twice in one day, but on that same day, she will also be speaking at the Women and Banking Finance Awards. That will be more of a fireside chat though, rather than a formal speech. But you can bet that, again, every single word that she says will be scrutinized by the media and market economists, and we'll be looking for some indication of where she's thinking about rates going forward.
Yeah, those GDP numbers leading into those speeches, it's going to be very interesting. There's one other thing we've got to mention, Sherelle, a very important date on the calendar. It's your birthday, so happy birthday for the day ahead.
Thank you very much. I will be looking forward to a glass of wine after those speeches.
You'll have earned it. Sherelle, have a cracking week.
Thank you.
That was Sherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY. I'm Adam Lang, and this is Fear and Greed, the week ahead. Have a great day.